what is there to say, folks? Dolphins lose again. Record falls to 1-5. They lose 29-27. I mean, I could tell you what there should be said. Fire Chris Grier, fire Mike McDaniel. I just simply did not want to become the guy who would just come up here every weekend after a loss and go, fire McDaniel, fire Grier. I hate to be the repetitive person, but how much evidence do we need to make a change? And yes, the Dolphins were competitive and this was a tight game late, but the incompetence that was displayed in lethargic effort was incomprehensible. It was. The Dolphins led 13-9 at halftime. And then you come out in the third quarter and lay the biggest egg that I may have ever seen. In the third quarter, you got outscored 14-0. So you went from up 13-9 to down 23-13. You had negative 6 yards in the third quarter. Negative 6 yards. It was an embarrassing display coming out of halftime. And you know what that is? That's coaching, man. That is coaching. Coming out of the half as flat as that on both ends of the field is a direct line to the coaching staff. It's bad, man, and I'm sick and tired of it. Everyone needs to go. This was a brutal loss. Was it the worst of the season, though? Yes or no? I gotta be honest, I'm trying to think of it in my head. I don't know which one's worse. This one's bad. The Panthers one last week was, you know what? I say no. Carolina last week, you're up 17-0. That is bad as it gets. But you know what? I can't re-emphasize the Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier stuff. It's just beating a dead horse at this point. We'll probably talk more about Grier with the defense here in a second. We're going to go to the offense first, though. I can't do it anymore, man. I can't do it. I'm done. I can't employ this guy as my quarterback anymore. I can't do it. The limitations on him are just too great. They are. And I just feel as if he is holding this offense back at times. He threw 3 interceptions. Only one of them was not his fault. The first one of the game on the first drive of the game goes right through Waddle's hands. Great throw. Would have been a first down. Cross midfield. Goes right through Waddle's hands, intercepted. What are you going to do if you're Tua? But the second one in the third quarter, right when you need a response after the Chargers put up 14 points, intercepted. And it was a bad throw. St. Juice made a great play over the middle of the field. But it was a bad decision by Tagovailoa. And then the third one, I got to be honest, like that doesn't mean anything to me. So if you're really asking me how many interceptions he threw that were on the QB, it would be just the one. Like, I'm not blaming Tua for the last one either. It was a quick hook and ladder play. And Derwin James just read the quick hook and ladder in the slot and intercepted it. Don't care. But the point is, actually, outside of just the interceptions, Tua was bad in this game. The amount of throws that he made that I sat up there and said, wow, that's a great throw. Maybe one. The one deep ball to Waddle down the sideline where Waddle made a great adjustment, bobbled it, but ultimately before he was going out of bounds, sliding on his back, made the catch. That was a good throw because he shaded Waddle back to the sideline and allowed him to make the play and not have the defender have a chance at the ball. But he missed Jayen Waddle on, I think, a couple of crossers in the intermediate range. Tua was terrible today. From the 10 to 20-yard range, he missed a couple Waddle crossers. He had Darren Waller on a crosser that he was wide open on. Like, Tua wasn't sharp. He wasn't accurate. He wasn't making good decisions today. He simply was not. And it was one of the worst games I've seen him play. Now, yes, he finally was able to come through with a drive down by one possession, middle of the fourth quarter. Puts his numbers at 2 for 7 in the year now. 0 for 2 against New England. 0 for 1 against the Bills, 1 for 2 against Carolina. And then today, 2 for 6. He was 1 for 5 entering today. Got that last one to go 2 for 6. But it wasn't good. I don't know how much I could harp on Tua, so we're going to move over to the weapons. Like, dude, you have guys, man. Waddle, I think, has certified himself as a wide receiver one in this league. Not that we didn't know this, though, right? Like, Waddle, as a rookie, was dominant. Over 100 catches, 1,200 yards. Only was the wide receiver 2 in Miami because they had a top 5 wide receiver in football for 3 seasons in Tyreek Hill. But when Waddle has the opportunity to shine on his own, he does. Now, the one drop was catastrophic because it was on the first drive and it ended up in an interception. But after that, he made a great adjustment on that ball we talked about earlier on the sideline. He made another great catch on that go-ahead drive late in the fourth where it was tipped by Odafe and he was in air, it gets tipped, and then he's able to make the adjustment and make the catch. Like, he's just a dominant wide receiver, man. And him and Achane are the two guys for me. These are the 2 guys where it's like they're building blocks. I know a lot of people will say Dolphins need a complete rebuild, tear it down, restart. I agree. And some people will say your 2 best assets might be Achane and Jayen Waddle. So trade them right now for first-round picks. I say pump the brakes there. Because does it make sense? Maybe. But I'm not getting rid of your best 2 players. And Achane and Waddle are without a question your 2 best guys. I mean, Achane had a career high in rushing yards today, 128, 2 touchdowns. He averaged 8 yards per carry. Now, a lot of that was influenced from 149-yarder where he wasn't touched. Great job, very rare, by the offensive line, but it was a great job. Aaron Burr, Cole Strange got out to that right side. Very nice. But Achane was solid today, man. And I can't wait to look back at the film. I'll look at the advanced analytics by PFF and stuff like that because I'm curious how the O-line did today. They were much better running the football. Obviously, you see the stat line. But I'll be curious to see overall how they were. Some really rough plays in the third quarter. Really rough couple of plays in the first half. I mean, Jonas Savinaya, I don't have to look at advanced numbers and film to know that he's a horrible bust. Goes back to Chris Greer. Bust. And I said I wasn't going to call it so early in his career. No. I am calling it now. He is bad. We knew it with Liam Eichenberg that he was just bad. Liam Eichenberg makes Jonas Savinaya. No, let me rephrase this. Jonas Savinaya makes Liam Eichenberg look like Quentin Nelson and Zach Martin combined. That is how bad Jonah has been through 6 games in his career. Subscribe for more Dolphins coverage because whether it's live for the games, instant reactions, trade rumors, we will have you covered with everything you need to know on this football team. Just don't know how much I can say more about the offense. Like, you know what's going to really sting before we segue to the defense? When Mike McDaniel inevitably gets fired, which should be tomorrow morning. If it's not, I'll continue to say it, slap in the face of Dolphins fans from Stephen Ross that he continues to employ both Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel. But let's just face the facts here. Mike McDaniel is a good offensive play caller. Does he get away from the run game a little too often? Yeah. But his play designs and play calls are awesome. Like, the offense is not the issue here with Miami overall. The first week, bad. You know what it is. Whatever. But the fact that Tua has been turning the ball over as much as he has, and the offensive line has been as bad as it has, but the Dolphins are still averaging about 24, 25 points a game. Like, think about it. Week 1, 8 points. Throw that away. Week 2, against the Patriots, 27. Week 3, against the Bills, 21. Week 4, against the Jets, 27. Week 5, against the Panthers, 24. Tonight, 27. You scored 27 points in 3 of the last 5 games. You've scored over 20 points in 5 of the 6 games this season. That's the part that's going to sting. Mike McDaniel is inevitably going to be fired, join a team as an offensive coordinator like he was before he joined Miami, and he's going to be phenomenal. And it's not that Mike McDaniel is not good at that. He just is unfortunately someone who doesn't have his team prepared to play football as a head coach and a guy that can't lead a locker room, which is unfortunately the 2 most important things as head coach. Mike Vrabel isn't the biggest X's and O's guy. I would say Mike McDaniel's better at him at X's and O's. But Vrabel knows how to have his team prepared and knows how to coach him up. It's the rival New England Patriots, by the way, who went into New Orleans and won that game today. And now they sit at 4-2. 3 straight wins for New England, 4-2. Year 2 of a rebuild. They're already there. That's what happens when you nail your first-round picks and get a good head coach and quarterback. That's all that matters. Head coach, QB duo. You have a good head coach, you have a good GM, or you head coach and quarterback, you're going to win football games more often than not. Miami, 0-2. More to come here. We're going to focus on the defense coming up here in a second, but this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day. The right decisions on Prize Picks can get you paid. Prize Picks has so many different new ways to play. One of them is stacks. You can now have the same player up to 3 times the same lineup. Want to pick more on Achane rushing yards, receptions, and touchdowns? That would have been a good job today. You can do that on Prize Picks right now. It's so simple. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. You get your picks right. You can cash in. You can play any way you want. Flex play. You can miss a pick and still make double your money. You can go for it all with the power play. Just download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. We could cycle through some defensive stats, but there's just an overarching conversation that has to be had. Unfortunately, I thought the Dolphins defense came out and played a good game early. Like, the Dolphins defense bailed out the offense in the first 30 minutes of this game. I mean, the Chargers had 9 points at halftime. They had 4 first-half drives. 3 of them ended with a field goal. 1 of them was a fumble. But the common theme with those drives were they were all starting at midfield because the Dolphins turned the ball over and missed a field goal and, just gave the Chargers opportunistic field goal position. So for the defense to honestly only hold them to 9 points in the first half was awesome. But then, I'll go back to it, the flatness of this team coming out of halftime cost them. Chargers go right down the field for a 7.5-minute touchdown drive to open up the second half. Dolphins offense, intercepted. Then the Chargers go down and score another easy touchdown. Down by 10. Dolphins offense, 3 and out. Chargers kick a field goal, go up 26-13. You just set yourself up for failure because of how flat you were in the second half. And I can't put all the blame on the defense. Now, is it frustrating to see how the game concluded? Yes, because what the fuck is Jayen Phillips doing? Dolphins go up 27-26, 40 seconds to go. 2nd and 10 at their own 40. Justin Herbert. Dolphins bring pressure. Jayen Phillips hits him. He gets him. He has his arm around him. I don't know if it was momentum. I don't know if Justin Herbert is just apparently John Cena and The Rock and The Big Show combined in terms of how physical and hard he is to tackle. But Herbert shrugs him off like it's nothing. Jayen Phillips doesn't bring him down. Finds Ladd McConkey for a 40-yard gain, field goal range, game winner, ball game. What is Jayen Phillips? How is he not getting him down there? It sucks because he's been your best defensive player this year. It's been him or Minka. Been your best. But your best got to make plays in big moments to win games. And that's the issue with Miami. Whether it's on the offensive side of the field or it's on the defensive side of the field. Every week, one of their best players does not make the play they needed to win the game. Happened last week with Tua, missing Waddle. Happened a couple weeks ago. It happens every week. It does. It's incredibly infuriating. And I'm not going to act like I expect anything of this defense anymore. They're the second worst or worst defense in football. It's them or the Ravens. Somehow the Cowboys defense, I would trust them more than Miami's. And boy, is that a bad defense too. It's just an unmitigated disaster from top to bottom. It's either this defense lets the team down in a big spot, or it's the offense letting the team down in a big spot. Coaching always lets them down. It's bad, man. Now, before we come up and round the show up, I briefly want to mention here, we'll have more of a full video on it coming up here with quotes and reports and stuff like that. But Bradley Chubb, I don't think played that much today. I'd have to look back at the numbers. I'm pretty sure Matthew Judon was announced as a starter today instead of Bradley Chubb. Obviously, a lot of trade rumors around him. Schefter and Ian Rappaport both named him as someone garnering a ton of trade interest around the league, with multiple teams looking for defensive line and edge help. Now, we talked a little bit about the financials of a Bradley Chubb trade late this week. We'll revisit those numbers and talk about the reports coming up. But there is, without a question, trade deadline's November 4th. There's 3 games until that point, which means the Dolphins at best can be 4-5 at the deadline. Games against Cleveland, Atlanta, Baltimore. Selling at the deadline without a question. Jalen Wright, healthy and active for a second straight week. Actually, we'll get to that just in 1 second. But what's your biggest problem with the Dolphins? We're going to round up the show with a little bit of injury news and trade stuff. But biggest problem with the Dolphins right now. And mine's easy, coaching. One word, coaching. That's it. Roster construction is horrible. No doubt about that. Got to blame Chris Greer a ton. But coaching is the biggest problem with the Dolphins. Across the board. I did want to mention Jalen Wright, actually, because he was healthy and active for the second straight week. Inactive against the Panthers, inactive today. Dolphins are rocking with 2 active running backs every week. Achane, Ali Gordon, Alec Ingold is that fullback / H-back, whatever you want to call it. Jalen Wright's going to get traded. And if you're Miami and you don't trade Jalen Wright, that's even worse. This is a 4th-round pick from 2024 who was not good in the preseason, showed a lot of flashes last year, but looked horrific in the preseason. Got injured, and then now is healthy and actives every week. The Chargers, team you just played, looking for running back help. Kansas City Chiefs looking for running back help. Those 2 teams reported looking to trade for an RB. Miami should absolutely be talking Jalen Wright with them. If you can get a 6th-round pick or even a 6-7 swap, Dolphins send Wright in a 7th for a 6th. I'm in. There's no future for Jalen Wright in Miami, unfortunately. I was high on him. I liked him, especially from what I saw last year. But with Ali Gordon looking promising, with Devon Achane as good as he is, there's no future with Jalen Wright in Miami, so trade him if he's got interest. Well, if any trade happens, we'll have you covered first on Twitter. @Nick_Wolf is the handle. Make sure you subscribe as well, because if the Dolphins make a lot of trades, which I expect them to do, trading players away, we will make you the most up-to-date Dolphins fans you have to be. So subscribe, follow on Twitter. I'll see you tomorrow morning with another video. Hopefully, we're live tomorrow morning breaking down a Mike McDaniel fire.